Hey everyone, this is Dr. Nada. In this tutorial, we're going to build on my prior custom armor modding guide where I showed you how to make them. We're going to go one step further, and what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to give that armor a custom color, along with creating a special type of mask that will allow you to dye it. Let's go. Before you can make a custom material for your armor, you need to make the custom armor first. If you haven't done that yet, follow my prior tutorial that's shown on the screen. Next, we need to make those custom texture maps that are going to form the basis for the material that we're going to attach to our armor. Basically, almost the exact same as was done for custom weapons in that tutorial that I made before. So you will need to make DDS files for the albedo map, the normal map, and the physical map. You can learn how to do that by following that prior weapon custom material tutorial shown on the screen. One important step for this tutorial: hold on to that unedited UV map that you exported from Blender that you used to make your color albedo file. You'll need that for the next step. Now on to step 3. This is where we're going to make that MSK map for our armor. And this is also where things are different from weapon materials. The MSK map, our special stain, is another texture that's going to affect how your armor looks under light. So light could bounce off like it's leather or cloth, but also really interestingly, it will allow your armor to be dyed, so you can make it other colors too in game. The good news about that is that it's pretty straightforward to make. To do this, open GIMP and load the UV map that you've originally exported from Blender for your albedo map, meaning the clean version before you added any colors. Now you'll color this map in a similar way to the albedo map, but this time the colors have to match specific values. For this tutorial, we're going to set the armor up to behave like cloth, but if you want leather or material instead, you can use the corresponding values for those material types. And for this tutorial, you can refer to this reference table that was created by Grumpy Washbear on mod.io. To make this easier in GIMP and make it more approachable, which is really all that I'm all about here on my channel, is click your foreground color as I've indicated here, and then change the color range from 0 to 255 to 0 to 100. And this is going to make it so much easier to enter the exact values that you need. So for cloth primary, you set your red channel to 100 or 1 times 100, green to 50, which is 0.5 times 100, and then blue to 0 or 0 times 100. Then you can fill in the actual armor portion of the UV with that color after you've selected it. After that, set the empty background portion of the map to another material value. So in this tutorial, we're going to be using custom 2 for that, which will be red 50, green 100, and blue 0. So fill the non-space occupying background with that value. If you unpack the in-game textures and look at those MSK files, you'll see that the values there don't always stick to just 0, 50, and 100. They could be a little bit different. For this guide though, we're going to keep it simple and we'll stick with those values. If you experiment though and find something useful, be sure to share what you find in the video comments so other folks can benefit from what you discovered. When you're done, save the file and export it as DDS using BG3 DXT5 compression. Next, we're going to re-export our model from Blender. This step is especially important if you merge some models in Blender to create what you have, because that can add complications for the UV maps. So you might have multiple UV maps that the toolkit doesn't necessarily know what to do with it. So it might just default to the base armor UV map and not show what you want. So in order to fix this, check the data tab in Blender and see how many UV maps that your mesh has. If there's only one, you can skip ahead, but if there are multiple UV maps, delete the extra one by clicking the minus button. If you followed my earlier workflow, the UV map created by Ministry of Flat will usually be named UVW. That's the one you want to keep, so you will remove the base armor UV map instead. Once only the correct UV map remains, export the model again the same way that you did before. Now we're going to bring everything that we made into the toolkit. Open the resource manager and re-import your armor model, this time using the version with only a single UV map. The armor textures here are imported a little bit differently from the weapon textures. Instead of importing the albedo, normal, and physical maps as standard textures, import them as virtual texture assets. So select all three of the material files as you're importing them. And for this example, I use the suffixes of BM for albedo, NM for normal map, and PM for physical map. It shouldn't really make much of a difference, but it's good to keep things organized in general. Now in the import window, assign each file to the correct slot using that ... button, and then click import all. After that, import your MSK file separately as a regular texture. When the toolkit asks whether it is sRGB, select yes. Now it's time to assemble the actual material. Because this armor is based on an existing in-game armor piece, duplicate that original material first, just like in the custom weapon workflow. So right-click on it and choose Create New Material Only. Open the duplicated material and scroll down to the lower settings. You should see the MSK color field and the virtual texture fields. So replace those with the new assets you just imported. Once that's done, open the visual resource object for the newly re-imported armor model and apply your custom material to it, just like in that weapon tutorial. So select your material and move it over with that left side button. Because you imported a new visual resource object for your custom armor, we now have to reassign it to your armor's root template so it shows up properly. So open up your root template and then open equipment data. Before you start clicking around, do listen to this first. The toolkit can crash here if too many textures load at once. So what to do is go to the race and sex combination that matches your armor. As soon as you switch to that section, immediately type a few characters into the search box to narrow the list down to your armor. If you don't do this, the toolkit may try to load too many assets at once and crash. Once you find your armor, make sure it appears in the selected visuals section, then click Save All and close the windows. On to the next step. Because of how custom models are brought into the game, the bounds that ensures that they show up correctly in the world when they're not equipped may have gone wrong a little bit, but fortunately we can fix this. So follow my separate bounds tutorial to fix that issue before final testing if you want to have something a little bit more final for that point. Otherwise you have to hold Alt on desktop to find the invisible armor while you're testing. Now we get to the fun part, testing. Launch the toolkit game instance and spawn your item. First, drop it on the ground and make sure that it appears correctly. Then equip it and confirm that the model and material display properly. After that, test whether dyeing works. So in the root template search box, search for dye and choose a dye to test. Here I use Loot Dye Golden 01 because the change is a little bit easier to see. To apply it, double click on it and place your armor into the combine box. Click combine and then test the result in game. If everything worked, your custom armor should now have its own material setup and support dye changes as expected. Once you start moving beyond simple stat edits, Baldur's Gate 3 modding gets a little bit more complicated, but a whole lot more rewarding. The upside is that even a more complex process can be approached step by step and simplified. Hopefully this guide helped clarify this process for you and makes it a whole lot easier to make the armor of your dreams that other players can make into their armor of their dreams using dyes. If this helped, consider liking the video and subscribing to my channel, while considering supporting me on Patreon if you want more content like this. The support really helps me and I'm so appreciative to all the folks who have provided support to my channel since I have started these tutorials. Thanks for watching, and Starship out.
At best, I was sure you'd say no. More likely, you'd ram a stake through my ribs. No. I needed you to trust me.